What's up, good peoples? This is Max LaRue Speaks. I'm your host, Max LaRue. And today's topic, we'll be talking about how did I come up with the brand name. Man, where do I start? This is going to be a very interesting content today. So it was a tug of war. I'm gonna say the least. I'm gonna start with that. It was a tug of war when I came up with the brand name because I had the general ideal, the lane where I wanted to take the fashion to. I had everything but the brand name that I felt comfortable with. And so when I first came up with a plethora of different names, I struggled with the feeling of it. You know, I think any brand name owners can relate to that. You know, the name is the essential of the brand, you know, so it's the key component. So if that's not there as far as in like, you know, the name and then what the lane is and what the aesthetic is, and marry those things together and something's off, even the small, you know, just take it like when you make it like when you hooking up a recipe for something. That one key ingredient could throw the whole recipe off. So that's the way I look at, you know, fashion. That's the way I look at clothing and, you know, things of that nature. So for me, it was very important. It was very vital for me to come up with a good name, you know, a name that was suitable and felt comfortable and very consistent to what I was, you know, reaching out to the masses. So, excuse me. So, you know, that was a real key component for me to have. And so I'm not going to even share the names I came up with. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it wasn't whack, but it wasn't like something that was like dear and heart. And I felt like, you know, that would reach out to the masses that I felt comfortable with. You know, if it's not there for you in comfort, it's not there for, you know, you as a person that's reaching out a brand, then it's not going to hold any weight. You know, so for me, I thought that was very key for me. And so the way I came up with Max LaRue, it was a bit of a tug of war because I struggled with that, and I named it after my name, you know. So it's some different parts of my own name, my government name, which is Antoine LaRue Maxwell. So first name is Antoine, middle name is LaRue, last name Maxwell. So I broke up, you know, a couple of wordings in my name, and I mixed it up. I mixed it together, and I was like, man, am I coming off arrogant? You know, I start getting in my head with things, and I'm like, yo, you know, who am I to come out with, you know, something with my name, you know, things of that nature. Then I start thinking about some of my favorite fashion designers, you know, Ralph Lauren, just to name one right now, you know, because right now, you know, it's a brain freeze with that. So, but, you know, and I just started looking at different documentaries. You know, that's how just like entrenched I am with this brand, with the fashion industry. And so I just started looking at things, and I just gained motivation from that. Like, you know what, you know, if it's something in your heart, you know, something that comes near dearing in your heart to do it, then why not do it? You know, I know the meaning of who I am as a person, and as a brand owner, and someone who holds, you know, who has like a collage of different ideas with fashion. You know, it's nothing arrogant about it. You know, it's just something that you want to have something with a good name. You know, I think that's key, and someone who has a good resume of fashion. You know, and that's something that I'm looking forward to do in the future. So I said, why not? I came up with my name, and here it is today. You know, so it's Max LaRue, and I just felt like it just had a beautiful twang to it. You know, and I just thought that it's something that I could really just drive into. You know, something that could really just work. And right now, it's just Is you know, I'm getting way more comfortable than I was before. Way more comfortable. Because at first I was like, hey, Max LaRue had a ring to it, but I wasn't there with it yet. You know, I was too much outside noise. No one was telling me anything. I wasn't getting no crazy feedback, anything. I mean, when I told people, you know, like people on the streets, you know, and I told people about my brand and things of that nature, you know, no one asked questions like, hey, who's the name? Sometimes we get in our own way in life. You know, when we can be our own worst enemies. You know, I know that's very cliche, but we can think of things that people probably not even thinking of. You're not that important, first of all. Let me make that clear. I mean, just to say that, it's nothing, personal, but it's nothing that I'm just trying to just come at it's just something that I feel like everyday people struggle with at times. When they start thinking about too much of themselves to stop themselves in the act of something that can be monumental, or can be iconic, or it can be something great. I don't know who needs to hear that, but I mean, I try not to be a guy who's always trying to preach to the crowd, anything like that. I'm just I like to have I like to be a person with good character. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a little bit about who I am as a person. And also I want my brand to be about that as well. Not just a fashion thing, but something that people not can only just relate to it aesthetically, but something people would know, man, that guy got he's a good person of character. So I feel proud when I rock that certain look. Well, think about somebody you probably met as a celebrity or anything like that. Probably had high regards for that person. You may have a bad experience when you met that person in person. That'll leave a bad taste in your mouth, and then that word will circle around. I just never thought I want to be that type of person. I never looked at myself as that type of person, no matter what. You know what I mean? So I know I'm getting a little bit off track, with the brand name and everything. But there's just sometimes things just hit you at the time it hit you. Pause. But it's just one of the things. So long story short story long. That's my whole thing with the brand name. I just came up with the name Max LaRue. It's an extension of my name, my government name, and it's here to make some noise, to be a disruptor. Like I always say, and I thought it was almost slightly genius of that for me to do that, because what representation will I be making about my brand if it had anything to do with me personally? You know what I mean? So I think that's not an arrogant thing to do when people come out with their own name, like Giorgio Armani, things of that nature. Like, that's an extension of who this guy is. You know what I mean? So what you're wearing is an extension of who this person is. This is his character. So I think that's I start looking at it in that point of view, instead of looking at it like, who this person think he is, this arrogant dude, things like that. You know what I mean? But when you're new to something, you always have the white noise in your head. You always had all these different clutters. What this person, what they might perceive, the perception, this and that. Who cares? Who cares? It may not even be a bad perception, or if it is, everyone's not gonna like it, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to accept that, and that's something I'm able to do without feeling a bad taste about it, because it's not for everybody. I know my fashion may not be for everyone, but that doesn't stop me from putting in the work. Just because it's one person, or maybe a couple of people, or maybe a roundabout of people, someone gonna like it, someone gonna love it, because I have that type of high hopes about my fashion that it will hold that much weight. So today, that's my whole little thing about the brand name. So today I wanted to show you what I'm rocking today. I'm rocking the forest green hat with the yellow script on it. Max LaRue. You know what I'm saying? And I have like the mustard type of shirt going on. And I don't know what this color is to be, you know, what this hue may be, but I mean, I loved it. You know, it was just something that when I saw the threading of it, I was like, oh yeah, I had that. So this is the Max LaRue. You know, of course, it's the refined blue collar luxury brand. You know, that's what it is, that lane. So yeah, that's my whole little thing today. I hope you guys enjoyed this, you know, this episode today. Like I said, I'm pushing out many more. Thank you for joining me today. Until the next one, Max LaRue Speaks. Let's get into it, baby.